Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast is your one-stop shop for fantasy football news and advice. Can't decide on who to draft on the first round? Going gaga on how to line up your team. Got you covered. Traditional leagues, dynasty league, PPR league, IDP league, even daily fantasy football league. Join us as we break down all the questions of fantasy football. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast.
And welcome to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. We're here for the conference championships. I am your host, Mark Souza, and with me, as always, I can't seem to shake this guy. He's like athlete's foot or something. He just won't leave. His name is Jeff Malinoff. What's up, Jeff?
Wow. Calling me athlete's foot, huh?
All these home remedies, they just don't do anything. I might need to go see a doctor.
Well, up yours too.
Yeah. Anyways, we're at the conference championships.
If I'm athlete's foot, you're just like you're like hepatitis
Ringworm.
on the foot. I don't know.
Anyways, we need to talk about the daily fantasy football conference championship picks, our best advice, our best plays, players to stay away from, of course, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that. We'll do that. We're going to break it down position by position. We'll do quarterback, running back, receiver, tight ends, defense, and special teams, of course. We'll also be talking about weather. Will it be a factor? We know there's one of the two games is indoors, so that won't be. But we'll talk about the over-unders. We'll talk about our theories of how we see the games going, which may help us pick which players this weekend. Maybe one game to target more than the other one. Also, we're going to give our advice for long shot plays, running backs, wide receivers, maybe tight ends who might be off the radar, but hey, they're cheap. You want to play some of the big dogs, so you got to, maybe fill a receiver spot or a running back spot with a very low-priced player. Who should you pick? Which player should you keep an eye on? And of course, like me and Jeff always do, we pick our teams. I know Jeff is
this time
looking
is
for
different.
a win. I know he's looking for a win.
But this time is different because it's not for 65 push-ups.
It's
for
100.
You had to ruin it.
100 push-ups.
Triple digits.
Jeff's been
on a losing streak.
It's been a tough go, but you could erase that with a win and 100 push-ups.
It would be the most satisfying victory in my life, and that's including winning tournaments.
That is really sad,
younger.
man. The most satisfying victory of your life is see another person do push-ups.
I was saying including the times I won basketball tournaments and graduated college.
What about winning some money in daily fantasy this weekend? Wouldn't that be fun?
God, I wish.
What would you rather do? Win $500 and do 100 push-ups, or see me do 100 push-ups and not win? The fact that you even have to think about it just tells you how much you want to win. All right.
No, it's how much evil I am.
All right. Anyway, so let's get down to it. I mean, look, we got pretty much 4 options at quarterback. Running back, maybe 5 or 6.
I would say there's the backup quarterbacks you can also sign just in case one gets injured.
Yeah, I bet. I'd like to see you do that. Maybe Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is the only quarterback that's not a starter that could provide
I wish
something.
You can put him in different positions other than quarterback.
Well, you can use him as your flex, can't you?
I don't think you can't use quarterbacks in your flex.
You can't. You're right. That's
a shame. I would totally do that, by the way.
Yeah, so he's unplayable.
Unless you want to replace him with Breeze and you're insane.
He
had a cool looking touchdown pass to Kamara that got called back last week.
That's true.
That was a gorgeous throw.
All right, so let's start it off. We're going to use DraftKings pricing. So just FYI,
DraftKings.
I play FanDuel. I play DraftKings. I also play Yahoo for my daily fantasy. Now, but we're going to be doing DraftKings pricing to give you a general idea of where these players are ranked. Now, the number one highest priced quarterback this week is Patrick Mahomes at 6,600. Drew Brees is number 2 at 5,900. Tom Brady is number 3 at 5,800. And Jared Goff is number 4 at 5,400. Jeff, just based on what I just told you, do you think these quarterbacks are appropriately priced? Before you give your opinion on which one you like more than the others, do you think that there is a mistake in where they're ranked and how they're priced? Mahomes, again, 6,600. Breeze, 5,900. Brady, 5,800. Goff, 5,400.
Mahomes being 66 seems awfully high compared to Breeze at 59 because that's 700 more. But I agree that they're in the right order.
Let me tell you this. Mahomes was 7,000 last week, and he has dropped to 6,600. So do you think that's because he didn't have a touchdown pass last week, or is that the weather? What do you think is the difference there? Because he did have 17.9 DraftKings points, which is a little bit lower than he's used to. He's used to 28.
I mean, that could very well be it, but also I think it's more the fact of the matter. I love that Chad Henning is on here as well at 4,500. I just saw that and made me laugh a little bit.
It's funny because who would play these guys?
Hill is the only one I can see. 5,000 makes sense for Hill, to be honest with you.
All right, so
he gets the ball up, but
pricing wise,
Mahomes, because of how he struggled, quote unquote struggled last week. That's why he went down a little bit. Plus, he's facing a New England team in the AFC title game. I think that's makes him a little bit of an underdog. But I still would go for him over.
Breeze was 6,800 last week and is 5,900 this week. Brady was 6,000. He only slightly went down to 5,800. Jared Goff last week 5,500. So he just takes a slight bump down. Now Goff 8 fantasy points last week. Now since week 11, he has only had one game over 20, and that was a 24-point game against the 49ers. He's had a 10-point game, a 3, a 15, an 18, and an 8.
Those are pretty low numbers.
So let me ask you this. Based on what you see at quarterback this week, which player, and I know I don't say which one because we probably play, like me, I usually play 4 or 5 different rosters every week. Which quarterback do you think is the best choice in the group of 4 based on their salary and their upside?
That's a tough one, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking a lot here. I'll let you go first. I have to think about this one.
I think in terms of best matchup, honestly, I like Breeze. I think Breeze at 5,900 is really good because I think he's got the least chance of the 4 to have a bad game. He might not have a special game, but I think there's
amount of mistakes.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value. He's at home. He has Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara. The last time they played the Rams, he put up 34 fantasy points. 34, Jeff. That's a really good game. 4 touchdowns in that game, 346 passing yards. He was super efficient. 36 attempts. He almost averaged 10 yards an attempt. That's a great game. Do I think it'll be so easy this time? No, I don't. The Rams have Aqib Talib back. That's a difference. That's a big difference. But I like, in terms of the best value, I like Breeze. What do you say?
I like Breeze also just because he's cheaper than Mahomes, but I'm not going to let go of the fact that Brady is the 3rd cheapest.
Yeah. I mean, him and Breeze are pretty much a wash. There's $100 difference. And, Brady coming off 20 points. So who would you say is your best? Is it Brady? Is your best?
Since you went Breeze, I'll go with Brady.
Okay. Now, I'll ask you, who's the worst? Which one of the 4 quarterbacks are you least comfortable with their production and their
Jared
price?
Goff. I don't think there's any question.
He's really hard to trust, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hate to pick the same player as you, but I can't say Mahomes. I can't. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's why I couldn't say. I wanted to say Breeze, but you took him, so I went Brady. But I think we can both agree that this is the right choice when it comes down to it.
The problem is that Goff has had one decent game in the last 5 games. I don't know, man. Like, it is what it is, right? And last week, they didn't have to pass that much because they ran the ball so well. But, he almost had that touchdown pass to Cooks last week where Cooks didn't maintain the possession going to the ground, but that would have helped his numbers a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, Goff, of all the 4 quarterbacks, has got the biggest chance of just crapping the bed, right? Like, he's playing on the road. He's playing in a tough atmosphere. Tom Brady, we know, is not going to be rattled on the road. It could be a tough night for Goff. He could have a great game for sure, but it'll be tough. All right, let's move on. Let's talk running backs. So I'll go down the list. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Highest price running back, Gurley at $7,500. Then Kamara, $6,500. Damian Williams, $6,400. Michelle, $56,000. James White, $54,000. Anderson, $5,000. Ingram, $46,000. Spencer Ware, $42,000. And then after that, you got guys like Darrell Williams, Rex Burkhead that are on the 3,000s or lower. So, with that being said, which running back do you like in terms of their price point, their matchup, game flow, and all that?
C.J. Anderson. I've been high on this guy for a couple of weeks now.
You like C.J. Anderson?
I like C.J.
5,000.
Yes.
So he'd be your best value, your best play?
He's the cheapest one you named, so.
What if he only plays like 8 or 9 carries?
There's no way. How he's been playing, he's going to get more than that.
Well, I mean, it's not how he's been playing. It's if Gurley's completely healthy, then Gurley's getting all the carries, right?
Mm-hmm. True, but I think C.J. Anderson's going to get a good amount still.
Yeah, last week he had 23 attempts. I don't know if he gets that many attempts this time.
I disagree, but that's the beauty of the show.
Yeah.
It's all about momentum, and C.J. Anderson has it.
Yeah, well, Gurley was really good, too. It's all about Gurley's health. I mean, it really is. Like, if Gurley is good to go.
But Anderson had more rushing attempts due to Gurley's injuries.
Right.
But since he played so well, why would you give up on that?
Because Gurley also had 16 carries in that game and did really well. Now, what if C.J. Anderson has 10 or 11 carries and Gurley has 23 carries? You know, like that's...
Well, Anderson can still get a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough.
I feel like he'll probably get more carries in the red zone to take the more bruising hits than Gurley will.
Mm-hmm. That's possible. Okay, my best play for the week is Kamara. 6,500. I know that's a lot, but look, he tore up the Rams when they played last time. The dude went off. He had 33 fantasy points. It was his third biggest game of the season in terms of fantasy. He is dynamic. I mean, this is a guy who's playing against a linebacking unit, not very good. Kamara had 16 carries last week, which was really good. It was his highest total since week 9 against the Rams, surprisingly enough. He's a touchdown waiting to happen. I mean, the guy usually scores a touchdown every 6 or 7 touches. Yes, he is expensive, but he's actually not that expensive compared to what he was. He's $6,500 this week. He was $7,900 last week on salary. So, pretty cheap. This is actually the cheapest he has been all season. Can you believe that? This is literally the cheapest that he's been all season is this week in daily fantasy. Gotta like Kamara there. The value is too good. Let me ask you, Jeff, who is the worst value at running back this week if you had to pick one?
So like either too high or something of that
just
nature.
Somebody that you think is overpriced. Like you wouldn't consider them at that point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let's see here.
There's guys like Gurley, Damian Williams, Sony Michel.
Damian Williams is one of those good prices because he's only $3,500.
James White.
I might have to go with James White because $5,400 is pretty expensive, and he's not getting enough touches. I know he had 15 receptions the other day, but
He had a big game last week.
Yeah, but Sony Michel is going to get a majority of the touches.
He had 15 receptions though.
Yeah,
15.
But I don't think that's going to happen again.
I see what you're saying. I personally like James White in this game because of the short passing, but I see what you're saying. it's kind of hit or miss with the Patriots running backs, right?
And there's only a few guys you can go for, you know?
I honestly think that the worst value for me is C.J. Anderson. I know he was your
worst
best.
value. Okay.
Yeah, because
we're no longer friends.
Because Michelle and White are only slightly more expensive, and I think both have the better upside. Like, yes, C.J. Anderson could have 2 touchdowns this game. Do I think that'll happen? No. I think he'll have like 60 yards rushing and no touchdowns, if I had to guess. Whereas,
you really have no faith in him, do you?
Well, Michelle, I think, is going to get 20 carries, and James White, I think, will get at least 10 receptions. James White is basically Tom Brady's go-to guy in the passing game. Julian Edelman, James White, you know? So, Anderson's my worst play, at least value-wise. Doesn't mean he won't have a good game. Anyways, maybe we should take a break, and then when we come back, we'll do receivers, tight ends, and defenses for this weekend, NFC and AFC championship games. We'll do that when we return.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. If you guys have not checked out our other podcasts, please do so. The GSMC Podcast Network. We have a variety of shows. We have a sports show that we do every single day. We have a baseball show and a soccer show we do once a week. We have a basketball show that we do twice a week. We have a football show 4 times a week. And, of course, fantasy football, as you're listening right now, twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. So we got to move on. We got to move on to, I think, maybe the most interesting position for this week in daily fantasy. I think you may agree with me. Wide receivers, man. We have some really good options. I mean, we're looking at Michael Thomas, Tyreek Hill, Julian Edelman, Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks. Other players, too, like Sammy Watkins, Ted Ginn, Josh Reynolds, Chris Hogan. Some of these players could have big days as well. Philip Dorsett. He came up big last week. All right, Jeff, I'm going to go down the list and tell you what the prices are.
Go.
Tell me first, though. After I tell you, I'll just tell you the top 5, okay? Because there is a considerable drop-off after the top 5 in terms of price.
Hit me, baby, one more time.
You tell me if you think they're appropriately priced or if you think there's maybe somebody was wrong when they priced these players. All right, Michael Thomas, $8,200. Tyreek Hill, $7,700. Julian Edelman, $6,600. Robert Woods, $5,700. And Brandon Cooks, $5,300. So Michael Thomas paces the position here at $8,200. Tyreek Hill, $7,700.
I got to go Tyreek Hill, man.
You think he's too high?
No, I think
Well, I
he's
was
worth
asking
too
who's
high?
priced.
Yeah, I say he's too high, but he's worth it. That's what I'm trying to say.
So, like, you wish he was lower, but you're going to bite the bullet and pick him.
Oh, 100%.
You like Tyreek Hill?
I love Tyreek Hill.
Do you want to know what he did the first time he played New England this year?
How do you do?
7 catches, 142 yards, 3 touchdowns.
So I'm right.
And then he had a rushing attempt that didn't get any yards, but he had his biggest game of the season.
I'm going with him. I'm sticking with the 7,700. I think that's the best option.
Last week he was 7,400, and he rewarded fantasy owners with a 24.8 performance.
He's going to do better.
You know this very well because he helped me beat you.
You know what finger I'm holding up right now?
Your pinky?
Yes, I am.
Anyways,
I'm not.
I think you're giving me a thumbs up. Or were you saying I'm number one?
Yeah, exactly.
I am number one. Yeah. All right. All right. So, are the other players priced appropriately? Edelman at 6,600. Woods.
Edelman's a little high for me.
A little high for your.
My liking.
A little rich for your blood.
Mm-hmm.
What about what do you say about his huge game last week though? 9 for 151. He had 28 fantasy points.
I know
That's
he's good,
really good, man.
But 60, you can only for 2 wide receivers, one's gonna be 7,700 and one's 66. I can't do both like that.
You can't do it.
No.
All right. So your best value of the top 5 would be who? Thomas, Hill, Edelman, Woods, or Cooks? Remember, Michael Thomas had 42 fantasy points against the Rams, 12 catches, 211, and a
I got to
touchdown.
go Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas had his best game of the season against the Rams. Tyreek Hill had his best game of the season against the Patriots. We're looking at the top 2 players here have a nice little recent history against these teams. What do you think about the Rams receivers, though? Both in the 5,000s area.
Once again, I said this last week. I'll say it this week. Jared Goff is my biggest concern.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm avoiding Rams wide receivers.
Interestingly enough, Brandon Cooks had a big game against the Saints. Robert Woods was relatively quiet for his standards, but Cooks had 6 for 114 and a touchdown.
It's good with C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley playing the way they are. It's going to be about the running game.
All right, so I'm sorry if I missed it, but your best value is
Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas, the highest price. Okay, yeah, I think he's.
I don't care if he's
player.
$15,000. I'm taking him.
All right, my best value is, I think Brandon Cooks. I think so.
That is gutsy, and I said avoid him.
I think so because he's a really good player, and I think he can still have a big game and Goff not have a big game. It's still possible. I don't think Goff's going to have a huge game, but I think for them to win, Brandon Cooks needs to have a big game. And I see the Rams playing from behind a lot in this game. So with that being said, I like Brandon Cooks. All right, who's your worst value? This one's a tough one.
This is a tough one.
Because they all have really good matchups.
It's like Sophie's Choice over here.
I don't know if it's that serious.
I'm kidding. The worst price might have to be Josh Reynolds.
At 4,200?
Yeah, but he's not going to get a lot of touches, it feels like. His fantasy points per game is 6.1.
Yeah.
And
he had one catch
he's
for 19 yards last week.
And he's the 5th highest.
6th.
Or 6th highest, excuse me.
I'm with you. Sammy Watkins seems like he's a way better play than Josh Reynolds, and Sammy Watkins is actually cheaper.
Spoiler alert, I picked Sammy Watkins over Josh Reynolds because I picked Michael Thomas.
Yeah, for me, I hate saying this, but maybe Robert Woods, because
you were high on him too.
He's really good, but he didn't have the biggest game against them the first time, and I don't think Cooks and Woods are going to have huge games, so it's like one or the other.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cooks has a good game at the expense of Robert Woods. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see it.
You know how it is. Like, there's only one ball, right? Like, you can't both. The 2 receivers can't both score a touchdown on the same play. Both receivers can't get the pass thrown their way on the same play. So, that's kind of what I see. All right, let's see. Are you big on Ted Ginn this week? I gotta ask.
No, he's been bad for me,
dude. But do you remember how close he was from scoring that long touchdown last week at the beginning of the game?
But he looked. And then there was another pass to him where he was like didn't know where the ball was. It's just he's not. He's old. He was
so close from getting that.
Yeah,
long
but
touchdown.
he didn't get anything. So
what about you like Sammy Watkins this game, huh?
Yeah, because they like giving him the ball sometimes. They like giving him on some short routes that he sometimes takes up the field. So
what about a guy like Chris Hogan?
Chris Hogan can go off. I could see him as a good flex player.
He's just one of those players that's so hard to predict for the Patriots. They always have these players, right? Like Chris Hogan will probably be the MVP this week because, he's a Patriot.
Yeah, that's why I say flex, because he can go off, but it's not like it's 100%.
What about your boy Traquan Smith? What about your boy Traquan, who had one catch last week?
I think he has an opportunity to break out again, but I will say Chris Hogan over Traquan.
All right, let's move on to a always tough position, but of course, when you only have 2 games to pick from, the tight end position is just absolutely abysmal. You have Travis Kelce, you have Gronk, and then you got Gerald Everett, Demetrius Harris. Are you spending money on Travis Kelce this week, or are you going to try and go for one of these low price?
Nope, Kelce.
No matter what?
Kelce.
But
Kelce.
everybody in your leagues are going to be taking Kelce.
It's better to be obvious and get points than try to be smart and go someone cheaper and not get any points.
But what if you spend a third of the amount on a player who gets just as many points? That's where it can get interesting.
But what are the odds of that actually happening?
Not good.
Exactly my point.
Yeah, so I don't really know where you'd go here. So you think Gronk do you think Gronk can have a breakout game?
I can't believe I'm about to say this because he's from my college myself, but no.
So Gronk's second best game of the season was against the Chiefs. 3 for 97. Woo.
Touchdowns?
Nope.
No.
But he had a good game.
Nope.
So you're taking Kelce then? I mean, it is what it is. It's a slam dunk conversation. Is that where we're going?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you had to pick somebody else,
Did you see that? You know the dance he does in the McDonald's commercials? That's what I think about him when I pick him.
Okay. Besides Kelce or Gronk, what is the one long shot play at tight end that you could possibly see have a good game? Gerald Everett, Demetrius Harris, Tyler Higbee, Benjamin Watson. I mean, who could it be?
Benjamin Watson's probably the best bet. Besides Kelce. That's my guess.
Yeah. Some of these guys are just candidates to not have any receptions at all. Like, that sucks.
The only tight end that gets the ball is Kelce. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so why don't we move on since
I can't move on. I'm still hung up on her. Oh, you mean the show.
Tight ends is such a terrible position this week. How about we talk about defenses?
Sure.
Here are the 4 defenses. I'm going to tell you the prices. Saints, $2,700. Chiefs, $2,500. Rams, $2,300. Patriots, $2,100. None of them are highly priced, but based on what you've heard, which defense do you think has the best chance of blowing up this week?
This is tough because we only have a few games. We have 2 games going on. Only a certain amount of things can happen.
Mm-hmm. What can happen?
Interceptions, returns for touchdowns, all that good stuff. Special teams. I might have to go with the Saints on this one.
Why is that? Why do you feel that way?
Because Hill is a dangerous return guy for me.
Or what about the actual defense part, though?
And they're the number 1 defense compared to everyone else. But they are expensive.
They're only slightly more expensive, though, than even the worst defense.
You're going to pay a lot for the other guys is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
You know what sucks? Look, all 4 defenses, look at their opponent rank. These are literally the 4 best offenses. These are the 4 best offenses in the NFL.
And the thing is, you're going to pick a bunch of players from the opposite team, so you need that team to do good as well as the defense.
Saints are playing. The Saints are playing the 3rd-ranked offense. Chiefs 4th.
So like
Rams if 2nd, Patriots 1st.
If you pick Mahomes, or if you pick let's say Todd Gurley, and then you pick the Saints defense, you're stuck.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. Gurley can have a big game, and Saints defense could have a big game. Because they can get like a pick 6, sacks. Gurley could also have a couple touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It's not. I know what you're saying, but it's not necessarily true. Yeah, it's more along the lines.
It's not Kim possible.
It's more along the lines that it's going to be tougher for Goff to have a good game and the Saints defense rather than Gurley and the Saints defense. But there is kind of a push and pull, obviously there.
Yeah, it is Kim possible.
All right. So which defense are you just staying away from this week? Like, it doesn't matter. You don't care about the price.
I kind of have to go with the Patriots on this one.
They might be the best defense, though, of the four. They just might.
But they're facing the best offense. That's why I'm being hesitant.
Okay. Best value for me is absolutely the Saints, just because I feel like Jared Goff can kind of struggle under pressure, you know? Like, I feel like his confidence is very up and down.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I don't feel like Brady and Breeze and those guys get rattled. And Mahomes is at home.
Yeah.
So, like, Goff has the easiest
Mahomes
chance.
is at home?
Goff has the easiest chance of getting rattled and having just a disaster. You ever seen 8 Mile?
Yeah, I love that movie. That was my first rated R movie as a
There's
kid.
vomit on a sweater already.
Mom spaghetti.
Yeah, Goff could have a
You can just say the song Lose Yourself because that's not in the actual movie.
Yeah, it is.
That song?
Yeah, Lose Yourself is the 8 Mile anthem.
Yeah, but you think you think about that outside the movie. You don't have to think. Have you seen that? Then you.
Yeah, but what about at the beginning where Eminem is throwing up? Like that's part
but
of it.
no one cares about the movie part. They care about the song
spaghetti.
part.
He's nervous.
You can just say, "Have you ever heard the
he
song
was
Lose
calm
Yourself?"
and ready. All right. Anyway,
To drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking out. Everybody's choking out. The clock's running out. Time's up. Over. Bam. Sent back to reality. Oh, there goes.
Right.
Okay.
Speaking of choking,
That was pretty good.
don't choke on your picks this week because we're doing
100
100
push-ups is on the line.
All right. So my worst play for defense is the Chiefs because I think that the Patriots. The Patriots might not win this game, but I don't think they're going to have 5 sacks and 3 picks. You know what I mean? Like it'll be like an offense win for the Chiefs. It'll be a shootout. On the other hand, I can see Mahomes. I can see a scenario where Mahomes has a tough day where maybe he throws a pick or two. He can get a little loose with the ball sometimes, but he makes way more good plays than bad. I think everybody knows that. There's a reason he is the number 1 priced quarterback this week, of course, and has been relatively most of the season. So, anyways, we're going to take a break. But when we come back, Jeff, we're going to look at the spreads when it comes to gambling on these games.
No, wait, we got to make our picks.
I know, no, we're not done. Hold on. When we come back, we're going to look at the over-unders to see what the public thinks of how high these scores are going to be because we talked about how good these offenses are. We're talking about the top 4 offenses in the league are playing this weekend. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about weather. Is weather going to be a factor? We've heard about it all week. Chiefs and Patriots. Will weather be a factor?
But will the vomit on their sweater from Mom Spaghetti be a factor also?
And we'll talk about any long shot plays. We kind of alluded to, I think wide receiver is the position, but maybe there's tight ends that we might think of picking up for a very cheap rate. And, of course, after that, we're going to pick the teams. And this week, we're going to do it a little bit different, Jeff. We're going to do it a little bit different. You're going to have the first pick, and you're going to get to pick any position that you want. Now, it will go you, then me, and then I'll get 2 in a row, and then you'll get 2 in a row. We'll do the snake style, but you can go any position. You do not have to start at quarterback. You do not have to end at flex. We'll do that when we return.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the final segment of the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Look, we've talked about the different matchups. We've talked about quarterbacks, which ones we're leaning towards, which ones we're leaning against. Running backs, which of the big guys should you be picking for your teams? Which ones should you avoid? The receivers, I feel like this is a good crop this week. There's 5 really good ones.
It's only the 4 best teams in the NFL.
It's only the 4 best offenses to ever be constructed in 2018/19, right? So, the 4 best offenses in the best era of offensive football. So, do what you do. Can you imagine if there was DraftKings or a daily fantasy back in like the 60s? That'd be so much more boring, it seems like. Anyways, Johnny Unitas. Tight ends, we talked about how it's like a desert. It's so bare. It's what's out there. We don't even know. Other than Kelsey, who could really be certain? Nobody.
Nobody's perfect.
And defenses, which is funny to even talk about which defense you'd rather pick when every defense looks like they're going to have it stacked against them, But hey, let's talk about weather first. We'll do weather, then we'll go to the betting lines to see what the public thinks of which of the 2 games will be higher scoring and which will be lower scoring. So we heard all week, Jeff, that Kansas City was preparing for an Arctic blast, quote unquote, an Arctic blast.
It sounds like a move a Pokemon would use.
It sounds like it's like a new movie, like Arctic Blast, featuring Jake Gyllenhaal and
Ben
Amy
Stiller.
Adams or something.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, Ben Stiller could work.
Like in the movie Tropic Thunder, he's in like all those.
Yeah, it sounds so. It looks like now that this game will actually avoid a storm, and that Sunday, the forecast you're looking at is about the mid to upper 20s when it comes to the time that this game will be played. Overcast, most likely. It doesn't look like there will be too much sun. We're looking at a dreary type game, but it doesn't appear that it'll be affected by weather, as it won't be. There's no precipitation expected, so no snow, no rain, and only light winds. So with that being said, Jeff, does that completely change your aspect of this game from where you thought of at the beginning of the week in terms of like scoring, in terms of like maybe daily fantasy plays?
I don't think that's going to change anything for me personally.
Do you think that you don't think the game will be higher scoring if it's this weather instead of -5, or do you think that just doesn't matter too much?
It doesn't matter too much to me personally.
Well, you'll be in the comfort of your own home in 65 to 70 degree room temp, watching the game. But what about the players who have to actually get tackled on cold turf that feels like concrete, Jeff? Have you ever thought about their feelings?
Nope.
Wow.
I'm thinking about
you yourself,
something else.
Me, myself, and I. All right. So the other game, of course, we know is indoors, so that doesn't matter. The Rams and the Saints. The Saints are at home, of course. Now, do you know who's favored in these games?
If I had to make a guess, it's the 2 of the 1 seeds.
Yeah, the home teams. So the Saints are favored by 3.5, and the Chiefs are favored by 3. But do you know which game actually is predicted to be the higher scoring of the 2?
Saints and Rams.
Saints and Rams, the over-under is 57. The Patriots-Chiefs over-under is 55.5. So it's almost even. It's very close. Is that surprising to you that it's that close?
No, they both can score points. We've seen them score before, so it doesn't surprise me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you think that the Rams Saints will be the higher scoring of the 2 games?
Yes.
Really?
I do.
I kind of think it might be the other way.
Really?
Only because, do you get the impression that the Saints and Rams both want to like run the ball, like to kind of like control the clock a little bit more than maybe the Chiefs and the Patriots?
Maybe, but I just think scoring will be a lot more frequent in the Saints and Rams game.
You could absolutely be right. You know what's funny? Do you remember the games that these 2 teams or these 4 teams all played earlier this year where the Rams played the Saints? It was 80 points total, and then the Chiefs played the Patriots, it was 84 points total. Insane.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we're going to see 2 games like that again, or do you think we're going to see more normal scores?
I think we're going to see another big scoring game multiple times over.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
I would not be surprised if combined yards of all 4 games exceeds 2,000.
that would be insane. I would be pretty surprised, but I mean, if you're going to pick 4 teams to do it, it would be these 4, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it is what it is. All right. Well, let's talk about your long shot plays. Give me a name or 2 that are relatively cheap that you will consider adding to your lineup in order for you to spend more money on other players. I'm talking like under 4,500 or so.
Okay, so Chris Hogan will have just as many points as possibly Tyreek Hill.
Chris Hogan. I do like Chris Hogan as a long shot play. I don't know why.
He has these breakout games that come in out of nowhere. That's why.
But what about, do you prefer Hogan over Dorsett? Dorsett had 4 for 41 and a touchdown last week, and now it's 2 games in a row with a touchdown.
Yes, I do.
Dorsett has 2 games in a row
And
with a touchdown.
also, Sammy Watkins.
What about him?
I could see him having a breakout game also. Because of the fact they're going to be looking
Isn't
at
it
Tyreek
crazy
Hill.
that he's priced with the guys, like, he's priced lower than Josh Reynolds? Isn't that nuts?
Well, it's just the name of the game.
What is the name of the game?
Football.
Oh. Yeah, I do like Sammy Watkins this week. I don't know what it is, but I think he could have a red zone touchdown. Sammy Watkins, we know Tyreek Hill's the man, but Tyreek Hill's not really the red zone guy. It's Kelsey. If they double or triple team Kelsey, Watkins.
We do know that Mahomes loves to throw the ball deep to Hill.
8 targets last week for Sammy Watkins in a game where they were winning the whole game by a lot. I like that. I think he'll have at least 10 to 12 targets. And if he gets 10 to 12 targets, I love that price point, don't you, at 4,000? If you can get a receiver at 10 targets, that is incredible. All right. Let's get down to it, Jeff. It's time to pick the damn team.
Are you ready for some football?
So, like I said, and people who listen, they know how we do this, but we're changing it up a little bit. You're going to get the first pick since you're coming off the loss. You're going to pick whatever position you want. Then I'll get to pick twice in a row whatever position I want, and we'll keep going that way. So, go ahead.
My first pick will be tight end.
And you'll take Kelsey.
Yes.
Okay. Well then. Well. I will have to take Alvin Kamara as my first running back.
Mm-hmm.
And this is tough. Man, where do I go from here? I'll say Todd Gurley.
Wow.
That's my flex.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
Okay. Running back.
2 in a row.
Our wide receiver, Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Running back, C.J. Anderson.
Tyreek Hill, C.J. Anderson. Okay. Well, let's see. I got 2 right here. Well, shoot. Give me Patrick Mahomes. And then at wide receiver, it's really hard to not take Michael Thomas.
I was about to say, if you don't take Michael Thomas, I'm going to sue you.
All right, so you're up. You need a quarterback and a flex.
Quarterback, Mahomes.
No, I picked him.
Oh, I didn't. Sorry, I wasn't listening to that part. Breeze, then.
Breeze.
I think that's an obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
And flex. Sony Michel.
Okay. That's solid. I like it. So I got What do I have left? Oh, I just have tight end. I'm taking Gronk.
That's risky.
Well, what else am I going to pick?
I don't know.
I have Gerald Everett, Demetrius Harris, Tyler Higbee, and Benjamin Watson to choose from. I'll take Gronk all day.
if he gets the ball.
That's even if he doesn't, the other guys might not either. You know, like
Touche.
So let's go over the teams again. All right, Jeff, this is your team, your stable right here. Drew Brees, C.J. Anderson, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and Sony Michel. My team, Mahomes, Kamara, Thomas, Gronk, and Gurley.
Interesting.
I took Mahomes after you took Hill and Kelce because I had to cover my tracks. If Hill and Kelce have a big game, Mahomes has to have a big game, right? Like it.
Or they do reverses.
Well, if they do a reverse to Kelce, I mean,
wide receiver option pass from Hill to Kelce.
I'll tell you what, if that happens, I quit.
Quit what?
I'll just wave the white flag. If Tyreek Hill throws a touchdown pass to Travis
you automatically
Kelce,
lose.
Well, Patrick Mahomes is a decoy on that play. Oh God.
So you automatically lose. Here's what you're
What
saying.
if Patrick Mahomes catches a touchdown pass this week? Oh boy, I can see
and
something
thrown
like that.
Thrown by Travis Kelce.
I can see something like that happening.
No, I don't. But yeah,
No.
Andy Reid's not that kind of player or coach.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, anything else you'd like to add for this week? This is for 100 push-ups, by the way.
I'm good.
All right. So thanks for joining us. Please join us next week, Monday. We'll break it down. We'll talk about the good, bad, and the ugly. We'll talk about who won. We'll see who's doing the push-ups. Jeff, he's getting really strong. So I'll tell you right now, if I got to do 100 push-ups, I'm probably going to have to break it down 3. I'm probably going to have to do 35 and then see what happens after that and then do the rest.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff Malinoff. That's Mark Souza, and we'll see you on Monday. And enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the games.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Fantasy Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.